On today's episode of Locked On Mariners, what will Seattle's first lineup of the season look like? We'll hammer that out and then play a fun game of start, bench, and DFA. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. This is Trident Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. The link as well as our social accounts is in the description below. Yesterday, we projected the Mariners opening day roster. Today, we're going to project their opening day lineup. Afterwards, we're going to play a few games of start, bench, and DFA with some current and former Mariners. But Colby, let's start with this lineup. Let's figure out what this thing is going to look like on March 30th when the Mariners host Shane Bieber and the Cleveland Guardians at T-Mobile Park for opening day. And there's a couple of questions that I think we need to answer here first that are really going to determine how the rest of this lineup is going to shake out. One, the biggest question here at the top of the lineup, how much stock are we putting in Kolten Wong, hitting leadoff in the Mariners' first game of spring training? Is this actually what the Mariners are going to do, or is this just them experimenting? What do you think, Colby?
I think it's certainly experimental at the moment. But because they've done it every time both guys have been in the lineup, it's something that they're seriously considering. So you can't overlook it. It's not something that we can easily say is definitely going to happen or definitely not. Just one of those things, So we're not really going to have a good idea of this either because Julio's about ready to leave in a couple days. He'll be gone. Along with Teo, obviously, for the World Baseball Classic, and we won't see him in the next 5 to 10 lineups. So it'll be a little difficult to know which way they're leaning. We'll probably see a lot of Kolten Wong in the leadoff spot when Julio leaves. But yeah, it's interesting because there's a couple of things at play here for Scott Service based on trends of his lineup construction. Number one. He really cares about handedness, or at least in the past, he's cared about handedness, and he likes to break up the righties and the lefties. His ideal lineup would be left, right, or right, left. But the Mariners don't really have that option available to them right now. They're lefty bat short of being able to do that. And we saw Scott really kind of throw that out the window when the playoffs came. He just wanted his best guys up. He just kind of wrote the lineup that way. These are my best guys. That's 1 through 9. That's how I'm going to write the lineup. So it'll be interesting to see which path he takes with that. But I think they're going to give Kolten Wong a shot to lead off here, at least early in the year. So I think Wong against right-handed pitching for the first few weeks is probably going to be the leadoff hitter. I don't like it, but I think that's probably the reality.
So that now, again, how much of handedness is going to be important to Scott Service when writing out these lineups here to start the season if Wong is the number one guy, if he's leading off, because you got a whole mess of righties. When you think about the top 6 hitters on this Mariners roster, only one of them outside of Wong can hit lefty, and that's Cal Raleigh, who's of course a switch hitter. So where does Raleigh fit in this? Where does Ty France fit in all of this? Where does Teoscar Hernandez and Eugenio Suarez, where do all these guys fit in this? Because obviously Julio is going to be number 2, right? Barring any surprises. And then number 3, it could be Ty France, it could be Teoscar Hernandez, it could be Gino, it could be any of these guys, really. So where are you leaning?
It should be Teo. Julio and Teoscar should both be getting at bats in the first inning, and they should both be as high up in the lineup as possible.
Agreed.
But I think what Scott's probably going to do is I think he's probably going to try and put Ty France at 3 and then move Teo to 4 to kind of the traditional, like, well, Teo has more power than France, so therefore Teo hits 4 and France hits 3, because France is more of a batting average guy. It's a very traditional way of looking at this lineup, as is having Colton Wong lead off, which I'm not a fan of. I don't like the idea that, oh, my leadoff guy has to be, has to hit left-handed, and he's got to be short, and he's got to have a small strike zone, and he's got to be able to steal bases, blah blah blah. Like that's so dumb. It was dumb when that was the standard 100 years ago, right? And it's
It's
dumb.
antiquated. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
antiquated view of
right.
lineup construction. Yeah.
But I do think we're going to see Colton Wong leading off. I think Julio probably hits second, and then I can't imagine that Scott is going to have Ty France any lower than 4, maybe 5. But I think he hits him 3, and then I think Teo's going to hit 4, and then 5, 6 is kind of where it gets interesting.
Yeah, man. I mean, like there's an outcome here that I could see where it's, because of the handedness, right? Wong 1, Julio 2, Teoscar 3, and Raleigh 4, just to get a lefty in there, and then Gino 5, France 6, or France 5, Gino 6. But I don't feel like that's the best deployment of your guys either. So I feel like it probably has to be Wong 1, Julio 2, France 3, Teo 4, and then Raleigh 5, Gino 6, or Gino 5, Raleigh 6. But it's not perfect to me. I'm with you. Teo is one of my 3 best hitters. He needs to be in the top 3 of this lineup. And so any sort of construction here that takes Teo out of the top 3 to me is a misuse of your resources. So, yeah. Well, no matter what, we know who the 6 best hitters on this team are, and that's who was going to make up 1 through 6 in this lineup. But the bottom 3 is really interesting, and that's where the second question that we need to ask here comes into play. And that's, on opening day, do the Mariners actually play matchups? Or do they just roll out their best 9 hitters? Because that's going to determine whether or not A.J. Pollock is in this lineup, because Pollock, of course, not the best hitter when it comes to facing right-handed pitching. Fantastic against lefties. And I mean, historically pretty good against righties, but not last year, of course. Or, does someone like Tommy LaStella crack this lineup as the DH, as a lefty to face the righty in Shane Bieber? And that also determines, maybe it determines if Jared Kelenic is in this lineup or not. I think it's pretty much a guarantee that he's going to be in this lineup. But how do you think those 3 guys with Jared Kelenic, JP Crawford, and then that DH spot, whether it's Pollock or LaStella or Colin Moran or whoever, how do you think that shakes out?
I think on opening day, Scott will give not special treatment, but he'll give the bigger name, the veteran. He'll give Pollock the start at DH. I think that'll start. I think also, Cleveland's pitching rotation is very right-handed heavy. So if you're just going to do lefty righty, Pollock's not going to get any at bats, in that first series.
Right.
And obviously that's not something they're going to do. So I think they'll start the year with Pollock as the DH, at least in game 1. It'll probably be different in game 2, but also we don't know if LaStella can even be on this roster yet. He hasn't played. They shut him down with a right elbow thing. Obviously that's the elbow he, on his throwing arm. So
Yeah.
That possibly limits him defensively. And
it was supposed to be 5 days, and now we're on day 6, and he still hasn't played.
Right. I mean, 5 to 7. So,
right.
But we haven't really gotten any encouraging updates. We haven't heard that he's swinging or anything like that or throwing. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see, but there's no guarantee he even makes this roster. So I think they go with Pollock at DH. And then I think they almost have to, with those last 3 spots, I think you have to put Kelenic at 7, Pollock at 8, and then JP at 9, because, you stick Pollock in the 7 spot, you're talking about, 5 righties and a switch in a row instead of, on lefty, righty, lefty. And if you have Pollock hitting 7, then you have 3 lefties in a row, which we know Scott really doesn't like to do, because you'll have Kelenic, JP, and then Wong on the wraparound. So I think if Wong is hitting leadoff, I think Pollock is probably hitting 8th, which means Kelnick's hitting 7th, and JP is hitting 9th.
All right, so we're going to play a game of start, bench, and DFA. I got a few of them that we're going to go over here that Colby is going to choose from. In just a moment, I'll let you know what all that means here in just a moment. But real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything like the Sixers at 1.5 plus 1.5 against the Heat. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's LOCKEDON. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Before we get into our start, bench, and DFA segment here, just a reminder, we are now on Instagram and TikTok. Give us a follow over there. We are at Locked On Mariners. One word, Locked On Mariners on both platforms. Give us a follow. We're planning on posting content on both platforms throughout the season. All right, so let's play a game of start, bench, and DFA. Now, there's a bunch of different names for this game, but the rules are very simple. I'm going to give Colby 3 players or 3 people in general, and he has to choose which one he's starting, which one he's benching, and which one he's DFA, and he has to do one for each of them. And I have 7 of these, I believe, and some of them are pretty straightforward, and a couple of them are kind of unhinged. But let's just get into the ones that are pretty straightforward here to start. Let's start with the Mariners' current rotation. Arguably their 3 best starters in their rotation. Maybe Robbie Ray, there's an argument there for Robbie Ray in here, but I went with Luis Castillo, George Kirby, and Logan Gilbert. So which one of these guys are you starting, benching, and DFAing, Colby?
Yeah, definitely DFAing Logan, which is weird. Then the starts, I'm tempted to go Kirby, but I think you have to go Castillo here at this point. Could change in a few weeks, but Castillo, just frankly right now, the better pitcher. It's close, but I do think there's a distinguishable difference between the two, at least based on what we know right now. Again, if you ask me in May, it could be completely different, but I think you give the edge to Castillo right now. He was so good down the stretch and so big in the playoffs, as was Kirby, but Castillo's got the track record. He's got the stuff. He's got the swag, I guess. So I give him a slight edge over Kirby at this stage.
Yeah, when comparing these 3 guys, I think it's a no-brainer to DFA Gilbert, and these are the only circumstances under which you could say you could DFA Logan Gilbert. Right. I really want to go Kirby as well, but I agree with you. Look, I'm so high on what Kirby can do this season. We've talked about the Cy Young possibility and all this stuff, and we're going to talk about that even more over the course of this month as we head into opening day. But I think just right now, it would be unwise to go against Luis Castillo. That probably changes in a few months. We'll see. But I'll start Castillo, I'll bench Kirby, and I'll DFA Logan Gilbert here, like you. All right, next one. Go into the Mariners' current bullpen. Got their 3 big names out of their bullpen: Andres Munoz, Paul Sewald, and Matt Brash. Who are you starting? Who are you benching? Who are you DFAing?
Definitely starting Munoz. That's really a no-brainer. You get the upside play of Brash, but you also get relatively the same amount of safety as you do with Sewald. And based off of what I just saw during spring training, I'll take Sewald and I'll DFA Brash.
Wow.
We were recording this as the Mariners were playing, and Matt Brash was awful today. He fell behind every single hitter. He walked a couple guys, a couple blue pits. He was terrible. And
well, there you have it. Colby just said that spring training stats matter.
Right. I mean, they don't, but that was really bad, and that's part of the issue with Matt Brash is that these type of blowups are or that he's totally susceptible to them because he walks guys, because he falls behind. He had like 4 straight accounts that went to a 3
Mm,
ball count, and we're going to see outings like that from Brash. He just does not have control or command that is conducive to him being shut down every single time he goes out there. And Seawald, at the very least, I mean, Seawald's like bases loaded, 1 out. You're probably going Brash over Seawald, but like clean inning, tie game or whatever, you probably feel better going to Seawald because he's less likely to fall behind. He's less likely to give free base runners. So, yeah, it's kind of a tough call between those two. It's like, who do I trust more with the game on the line? Probably Seawald, but who do I want on the mound? Like, if I'm down by 1 and they have runners on second and third and 1 out, and I'm trying to keep it right where it is, probably Brash. It's do you need the strikeout or do you just need outs? Which one
mm,
do you need? And that's kind of the guy you trust more. But seriously, I think I'd probably ride the upside in this case. I'd probably bench Brash and then DFA
mm.
Seawald, which is really close.
Yeah,
It's go either way on that side.
it could go either way, but I'm like you. I'm going upside with Brash, so I'm betting Brash. I'm starting Andres Munoz. That's a no-brainer,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then yeah, slight DFA on Paul Sewald, but it is very close, and I think it depends on the day. That you asked me about that, but I'll go Brash over Sewald there. All right, next one we got Ty France, Eugenio Suarez, Cal Raleigh. I wanted to do a position player one with the current Mariners, but I didn't want to do Julio, Teoscar, because like that's going to be too obvious. And by the way, guys, feel free to play along with us down in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know what you would pick for all of these as well. But yeah, so Colby, France, Suarez, Raleigh. What are you leaning here?
Definitely starting Raleigh. Raleigh probably the second best position player on your team, which is saying something. Considering there's all stars on this roster after Raleigh and Julio. So, but definitely starting Cal. He just means too much to the lineup and to the team. Probably bench Gino and DFA Ty. It's close, but I mean, third base versus first base. Third base is a little more valuable. They do it differently, but they're both incredibly productive at the plate. So it's tight, but I'd probably give the edge to Gino just because he plays third base and he plays it pretty well. Whereas France is, kind of a average first baseman, maybe
Mm.
slightly above average. So I'd probably go Gino, but obviously in the long term play, you'd rather take a chance on France because he's a little bit younger. So it's a tough call.
I'm starting Raleigh because he's one of the most valuable players of one of the most valuable positions on the
Mhm.
diamond. I'm gonna bench Gino because I can't in good faith DFA Gino Suarez. Good vibes only, of course. So that does mean that my fellow Ty, I'm sorry, gets the axe here. I'm sorry, Ty,
Traitor.
but you're out of here, bud. I apologize, but it's over for you in this exercise. All right, Mariners prospects: Harry Ford, Bryce Miller, Felton Celestin. Who you got?
Considering I have them ranked 1, 2, and 3, it's probably just safest to go with that order. So
Hmm.
starting forward, benching Miller and DFAing Celestin, and Celestin might have the highest ceiling out of all of them, which is honestly debatable.
But we haven't seen
But
him.
yeah, we haven't seen him. Like he essentially does not exist. And like if Felton like just retired tomorrow for whatever reason, right? Would we care? I mean, we'd
I
be
mean,
bummed,
yeah,
but like we're like 5 years away from seeing this guy in the major league field. Who cares, right? So
yeah.
definitely DFAing him. Ford and Miller's really close, but like I don't know, man. Harry Ford is a unicorn a little bit here, so I think I have to give the edge to him. And hey, I saw Bryce Miller on the bench, so things could be worse. But yeah, I'm gonna give the edge to the unicorn over the flame throwing right-handed pitcher.
Well, when we did our prospect ranks, I put Bryce Miller over Harry Ford, so I have to start Bryce Miller over Harry Ford here and bench Harry and DFA Felton Celestine. Because again, look, the upside is great with Celestine, at least, so we've heard, right? Neither you nor I have seen him with our own two eyes, aside from, a couple of video clips on Twitter. I've probably seen 2.5 minutes worth of footage of Felton Celestine in my life. So
yeah,
there's, there's only so much that I can base off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really like everything that I've heard about Celestine, but I can't in good faith pick him over either one of these guys right now who I've actually, seen. So.
Right. By the way, Julio just went to Dogtown.
Nice.
The wind in Mesa, I think they're in today, is horrific.
Ooh.
But
so it was a wind bomb?
It went really high and it left the ballpark. I don't know if the wind's blowing in from left or out from left, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Anyways.
Nevertheless, Julio.
I think Emerson Hancock's getting ready to pitch. So
Ooh. All right, let's hurry up and finish this episode so I can watch that. All right, next one. We're getting into unhinged territory here, Colby. 3 players. Yeah. 3 players. The Mariners, or three prospects. Well, they were prospects at the time that the Mariners traded them. That I think the Mariners wish that they had back. Adam Jones, Asdrubal Cabrera, Pablo Lopez.
This one's easy. Adam Jones, I'm starting. I'm benching Lopez. I'm DFAing Cabrera.
But Cabrera's an all-star player, and Pablo Lopez, he's thrown like 1 full season in his career.
And that is more valuable than a bloated 38-year-old second baseman. So, no. Prime Asdrubal is a really solid player. But again, we're talking about, Adam Jones is a prime center field. In his prime, he was one of the 5 best center fielders in baseball. So he's an easy
that's the no-brainer part. Yeah.
Right. And then I look at Pablo Lopez, who is, a really good pitcher, right? A mid-rotation arm, I think. And then Asdrubal, I mean, he technically also played up the middle, but did he? I mean, like, he stood out there. Was he great out there? And
I'm benching Asdrubal, and I'm DFAing Pablo right now because Pablo, I just need to see him stay healthy for more than 1 season.
Think of how good he's been without being all that healthy. I'm just saying.
I know, but Asdrubal has the, I mean, look, it's hard to compare these guys because 2 of them have played a full career and one of them is like 5 years into his career or 4 years into his career, whatever it is. But I'm still going Asdrubal over Pablo here. What do you see, and what are you watching?
Kelnick just went yard off of a lefty.
Hey, oh wow! All right.
Yeah, Elias threw him like 4 breaking balls in a row.
Too.
Yeah, Ronis threw him like 4 breaking balls in a row, and he was not close on any of them. He probably should have struck out the pitch before, but he just barely fouled it, and the catcher dropped a foul tip. And then Ronis gave him a fastball on the outside corner, and he just went to left center, out to Dogtown. Like, nice. I don't think that one was wind aided either. That was crushed. So.
Nice. All right.
Kelnick 2 hits today. I mean,
right. There we go. There we go, Jared. There we go. Jared.
Yeah. I think the more interesting, got to be careful here. I think the more interesting start bench DFA would have been if you had added Freddie Peralta in there.
Those
are all. I mean, Adam Jones is there you go. The Jerry version, right? It's Chris Taylor,
Freddie Peralta. Yeah. Pablo Lopez.
That's the Jerry
all
version
right
there.
Let's do that then. Ooh, that's tougher.
Because of the track record, I'm going to start Taylor.
Okay. Taylor wasn't very good last year.
No, but I mean.
But he was pretty good.
He's been really good for like 4 or 5 years
now.
Yeah. Then I'd probably go Peralta and then DFA Lopez.
Yeah. I might. Yeah. I'll go with that as well. Yeah, Peralta. I don't know, man. Actually, you know what? I'll go Lopez over Peralta.
Oh, now he's a Lopez fan.
Yeah, now I am. Now I am. All right, we got two more here. Again, I want to get out of here so I can watch Emerson Hancock. King Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, Ichiro. 3 Mount Rushmore guys for the Mariners.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately DFAing. Ichiro. Like, sorry. And then it's time to rile up the comment section. I am starting Edgar and I am benching Griffey.
Spicy.
And honestly, I am closer to DFAing Griffey than I am to starting him over Edgar. King Griffey Jr. abandoned the Mariners twice. And the first time he did it, he forced their hand by saying, I will only play for the Cincinnati Reds. And sorry, Gino almost went yard.
Stop watching the game. Stay on task here.
But Griffey, he kind of screwed the Mariners twice now. And both times the Mariner fans were like, oh, well, yeah, and I get why, right? Obviously, like Griffey is the face of the Seattle Mariners still. Until like 2028 when it'll.
But A-Rod gets lowballed and goes to Texas, and then it's like and they vilify him. Yeah.
Right. What Griffey did was actually much worse from a like traitor standpoint, but whatever. Like water under the bridge. I honestly don't care that Griffey did that. Like, I think it should be talked about a little more than it is, but I don't care. I don't hold it against him. Like it's Griffey, right? You love Ken, so. Not a huge deal, but for me, it's just one of those things.
Well, like Edgar is your favorite Mariner of all time,
right?
For anyone that doesn't know that, Edgar is your favorite Mariner. So
yes, I wore number 11 my entire baseball life because of Edgar and all that. But Edgar was really, really good, and I feel like there's this idea that like Edgar is like, oh, he's such a fan favorite and he was good, but like no, Edgar was.
But Colby, he never played in the field. So clearly he should be at least benched.
I mean, I consider that, but then I remembered that Griffey literally quit on the Mariners twice. That's two more than I like.
I'm still starting Griffey. He's the greatest player in Mariners history, and then I'm bitching Edgar, and then I'm DFAing Ichiro.
Yeah. There's really like no wrong. You know what? I'm not even gonna say that. There is a wrong answer. If you're starting Ichiro, you're wrong. Like you put Ichiro on the bench, you could DFA him. I don't care, but you can't start Ichiro. Not after these two. Like, love Ichi, but no.
You're killing my childhood here.
Edgar Martinez is one of like the 10 to 15 best right-handed hitters since World War II
of all time.
Okay,
yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what we're talking about. So, yeah, it's a tough one, but yeah, the tiebreaker is that Griffey quit on the Seattle Mariners twice. That's the tiebreaker.
All right, last one here, and this one is another one where the starter is a no-brainer. The interesting conversation is who gets benched and who gets DFA'd here. Dave Niehaus, Aaron Goldsmith, Rick Riz.
Yeah, obviously we're starting Dave. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
God. I will bench Aaron, and I had to DFA Riz. I'm sorry. I'm going with the upside. I'm going with the younger guy. It's.
By the way, put Rick Riz in the Mariners Hall of Fame, please. What are we doing here?
Like what? You're just waiting for tragedy to happen and be like, oh, I guess we'll do it now. Like,
yeah, let's do it.
Put him in the Hall of Fame.
No,
do it now.
Do it now.
Like, it is such a no-brainer. But again, accusing the Mariners of having brains when it comes to this sort of thing, not common. But yeah, Riz definitely deserves to be in the Mariners Hall of Fame. He's great. But I had to DFA him just because Aaron is like so good at what he does, and he's the future. So
yeah. Now we'll pull back the curtain on the show a little bit here. So we did record this episode already earlier today, and the audio was just destroyed for some inexplicable reason. Hopefully it works now. We've recorded this whole episode. It sounds fine to us, but the last one sounded fine to us while we were recording as well. So who knows? But there was one other one that you brought up here. One other start bench DFA that you felt was more interesting than this one when it came to the broadcasters for the Mariners. Gary Hill Jr., Dave Sims, Mike Blowers. Obviously, we have to start Gary Hill Jr. because he's a friend of the show, Gary Hill Jr.
You do.
Also, Caroline, my wife, will kill me if I
Yeah.
don't start Gary. So after that, though, Simsy or Blow? Who gets benched? Who gets DFA?
I'm benching Sims and I am DFAing Blowers. I don't think Mike really wants to be here.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. I think Mike is slowly like building an exit strategy. He's got grandkids now. I think that he would like to reduce his role in the near future. Maybe not to zero, but I think he's slowly starting to phase his way out. And that's tough because
Are you angling to take his role?
I mean, since I have 0 major league at bats, I think it would be pretty weird for me to be an analyst. So no, but yeah,
I can't wait for the first time that Aaron Goldsmith is like, so Colby, break down this play. I don't care.
Break down this play. You saw it.
Yeah, you saw.
What is there to break down? Look at it. It's right there in front of you.
It's right there. It's people watching have eyes.
Yeah. Blowers is great, especially when he's paired with Aaron. But yeah, it's just I don't want to contribute to this nonsense narrative that Dave Sims is like bad at his job or something.
Yeah. No,
like
we stand Dave Sims in this house.
Yes, he is hilarious. He has his quirks, sure.
Yes.
But nobody rises to the moment quite like Dave Sims. So
that's right.
And he's got some excellent calls in Mariners history. So we definitely stand Dave Sims. So unfortunately, because I refuse to play into that whole narrative, I have to DFA Mike Blowers.
All right. I'll go with you on that one as well. All right, that's gonna do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Mariners. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident. Oh, you got something else?
I just want to let people know that we will not record this again if this doesn't sound well, because Ty has to go ref, a 7th grade basketball game after this. So
actually, I have to go to my 5 to close shift at Foot Locker.
Are you going to steal some hamburgers from McDonald's while you're at it?
I might do that on the way
lunch.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, I might swing by on their night shift after I get done at Foot Locker. We'll see.
And then you're waking up bright and early tomorrow to go to mime school. So
yeah. I'm ignoring you. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Mariners. Nope, I'm not getting pulled over there. Nope. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez. That's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well over at Locked On Mariners. That's one word, Locked On Mariners. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.